privacy, yeah, the crew's all here. It's another weekly moment where we all appear. Coffee steaming, hearts emoji rain. From sparks in the dark to spotlights unchained. Some roll in with coffee, black and bold at dawn. Some with happy hour cheer when the day is gone. Screens flicker lonely till the call lights up the feed. Beginners hit unmute, pros drop the seeds we need. Every week's a new beat. Fear turns into flow. Stories shared like secrets in the afterglow, turning pain into power, dreams into the frame. Hour by hour, we're fanning the flame. Raise your mug, raise your mind, raise your voice tonight. We're a spotlight family, shining real, shining bright. Celebrate the wins, elevate the pain. We turn it into power again and again. Into your stage community, where your voice comes alive. Your vision runs free, yeah, we show up and thrive. It's a happy hour hangout, our coffee hour tribe. We laugh, learn, lift, mastermind vibe. When the chat lights up, hey, that's our way. Drop your gems, drop your truth in the Q&A. Bold and unique, we bring the heat. Your stage community, where's a partner?
And there you have it, folks. Welcome to the stage. My guest today is Owen. Owen, how you doing?
Great. How are you doing, Americo? Great to be here.
Not too bad. You became every week. It seems like, because I'm always playing and I'm always demonstrating what intros and outros and what live experiences can look like. No one is the same. They're all unique, but they add to my library, my archive, so that people can see different variations of how they can envision themselves. And I absolutely love the live stream, the live content, and the power that it brings. And in fact, it brought the two of us together not too long ago. So why don't you kick us off, introduce yourself, and we're going to jump in and have a wonderful conversation centered around live streaming.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, and absolutely great to be here, and looking forward to the discussion. I suppose by means of introduction, I'm Eoin Delahunty. I'm the founder of Tasker. So Tasker is a startup that's very much driven by productivity. So it's kind of two parts to the startup. There's the product part, which is an intelligent task manager, particularly for founders and early stage operators. So basically anyone that wants to manage their work, stay on top of their projects, reduce their cognitive load, and avoid context switching. So people might be familiar with Asana or Trello, Todoist, maybe Jira. So particularly thinking about those, everyone who's not a software engineer is kind of like what I'm trying to solve for. So still an early stage, and you can head on over to tasker.io, log in, check it out. It's free to use, and obviously let me know any feedback. So that's maybe a little immediate call to action for anyone in that side. And then the other thing that I'm probably primarily focused on at the moment is what I'm calling founder services. So this is where I partner with other founders to help them out in any way they need help, using my experience and expertise. So something that's getting a little bit of traction, which was kind of like how we connected as well via LinkedIn, is what I'm calling the content Kickstarter. So this is basically helping out people who are trying to build an audience with people who are definitely on LinkedIn. So if you're professional services or head of operations, or you're trying to like sell a product or connect with those people, using content to create value and to share unique perspectives, interesting insights, and also build that authentic relationship. There's a lot of AI slop out there, so I think
don't even get me started with the AI slop.
Sorry, I didn't mean to mention that. So I think like that's where I think video is probably the antidote to AI slop. And I think even if you don't do a lot of video, or you need maybe a little bit of help with it, or like even the odd selfie, it just makes you, it supports you that there's a real person behind the content, and it's not just some chat GPT derivative or Claude agent. So I think that's probably something that's going to become more and more important as we go forward. And love what you're doing with the lives, and with kind of promoting that authenticity.
Well, let's jump into that. But before we do, I want anyone who's listening. Tasker is TSKR and not
Yes,
TASKER, right?
TSKR.
That's
Right. If you head on over to my LinkedIn, Eoin Delahunty, and my name there, you'll find the link to the website. So there's the website with a lot of more information about what I do, and then there's the product if people are interested in that. So
fantastic. So your content found its way into my feed, and that is simply the algorithm working as designed.
Yeah.
And I was just over the moon when I read the title of your LinkedIn Live presence is the new pipeline. And that resonates so well. I felt compelled to reach out, connect, and jump on a call with you. Now, tell us a little bit about presence is the pipeline, because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But I want to hear your insights, and I'll share mine
Yeah.
for anyone who is going to participate in this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think like the first thing I'd say is I'm still just figuring all this out, right? So like, it's easy, jump on, great format here that we can have a discussion. But I think it's about just like offering up what I would say is strongly held opinions, but are strongly held, but weakly held maybe as well, so that you can listen to other people's feedback. And even that post that you mentioned, which went a little bit viral for me, like there was almost like, I won't say deliberate mistakes, but numbers that were, basically wrong in it. But I didn't necessarily, I was basically putting something out there around email outbound, and many people, it seems, have strong opinions about email outbound, far more than I thought were out there that would take the time to comment and jump into the debate. And it was really interesting because it just struck a chord with people. And I had like my LinkedIn was just like lighting up for like a few days after that post. So it was kind of cool. But
that's what we want, right?
Yeah.
And I want to touch on something you said. You went live and you made some mistakes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because going live does one of many things. It shows you as a person, as a human, vulnerable, and you're building trust and credibility. People are listening to you, and they might be correcting you, or they might be sharing a difference of opinion, which is healthy, which is what you want. And when you go live, or whether you record it or whether you stay live, you get to meet people in real time. You get to repurpose those assets down the road. And it just becomes a trust building machine where if you were just to do a short form or long form piece of content, someone might glance through it and just move on. When they hear your voice and they hear your message, they stop, they pause, and if it lands with them, they'll stick around and keep listening to it. If it doesn't, they'll move on. But overall, even when they move on, you still get more dwell time. People are still sticking around longer, simply because you're talking, and there's less effort and energy required to have to read or skim through it. Like, there's just a multitude of reasons why we should all embrace video, live streaming. And listen, I commend you for starting and reminding yourself, and I'll remind everyone who's listening, it's about presence and not perfection. And it's about presence and not performance. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be polished. People are craving authenticity more than ever before. When it becomes too polished, too edited, and it looks too perfect, what's the saying? If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, absolutely. And sorry, just to kind of get, I didn't really answer your actual original question. So the presence of the pipeline. So this is a bit of a kind of, I would say, an emerging kind of thesis or framework that I have. And I actually wrote about it in a blog post, which I might share with you, or we can drop into the comments afterwards, or wherever is handiest. But
Mm-hmm.
it's on my Tasker blog on Medium at the moment. But it basically, so I guess a bit of a history lesson of kind of outbound early, but you might be fairly familiar with HubSpot, America.
Yep.
Yeah, and look, lots of people are, right? And I think like HubSpot kind of popularized and kind of invented the idea of inbound marketing, whereby you share, a framework, a white paper, a 5 ways to do blah blah blah, and they often gated that content, or it just ranked very well in SEO. So basically, you put content out there, you had SEO, maybe some little bit of paid advertising, and you got people to come to your site to look at your service, look at your product, and then obviously build that pipeline, and then you worked your sales process on that, and off you went. And like that's worked really well for lots of people for 20 years, 15 years. But now with AI, SEO is still a thing, but it's also just there's a lot more slop out there, and like the value of SEO has diminished. So now even a lot of people are using Perplexity or using ChatGPT or using Claude, etc., Gemini, to answer the questions that they historically just like put into Google. So even when you put something into Google now, it answers with Gemini as its first effort, and
Right.
then you scroll down to the ranked results. But even in that response to use one, because I'm sure everyone here has probably done that just kind of out of instinct as distinct from choice. It's now referencing Reddit, it's referencing LinkedIn, it's referencing some sort of social validation that this thing is actually true, or this thing has been shared, or there's some element of authenticity. So the whole SEO game, which like it's still there as a thing, it's still of value, but it's changing. And I think now what's happening is, so historically that content was shared by a company. So you were buying from Acme Inc., that was a company buying for it. Now, because of the role of social media in, like, I'm 38, since I've been 18, I've basically had a social media account pretty much, right? Like I remember Bebo, and Facebook and all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's kind of normal to follow people, to hear individuals rather than companies. So like, and that's kind of now how the world works. So I think now with, particularly for like traditional, we'll call it B2B companies that are selling their services and products, they need to be thinking about having an individual or multiple individuals as like the face or the brand. And then building, and I think this is even more of a thing for solopreneurs, for early stage founders, because they're trying to build a presence, they're trying to build authority, they're trying to build like, who's that guy and what's he selling? And as you said, do I trust him or her?
Right. Right.
So obviously it depends on your product, it depends on who your customers are, it depends where they live online. Are they on Instagram? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on YouTube? Wherever, are they multi-channel? So like I think that's something that I'm personally very like putting a lot of thought process into, like how does that work? What's working? What's not working? And like the best example I can give you is my own content on LinkedIn, where I've been posting every day for 6 months, and I've kind of like been doing bits of video. And I had to start, I kind of went, don't really know if it's working. So I kind of didn't do much of it, but I've got back into it in the last, I'm going to say a couple of months. And now with some of your guidance, I'm starting to do some lives. So like I think you still need text, you still need stuff people can just quickly look at. They don't necessarily want to sit down and watch a 5-minute video all the time. But I think also adding video into that mix is definitely it just adds a lot more trust.
Oh, and the more I hear what you're saying, oh, I just zoomed in. Let's zoom back out. All right. So the more I hear what you're saying, it's music to my ears, because that is what I coach. This is what I mentor. Center your strategy, build a strategy around live content, but don't just leave it at live content. Because to your point, some people we'll talk for an hour, a half hour. I've been live with colleagues. We've gone for 4 and 5 hours,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not everyone's got an appetite to listen to a 5 hour live stream.
Yeah.
But that's where the heavy lifting begins. As soon as that live event is over, you then repurpose. You take the conversation and you turn it into long form content, and you meet the people and the community members that prefer to consume your content through writing.
Yeah.
I will multi-stream on Substack, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Yeah.
But once that is done, I will take the Substack account and write up a long form blog, an article that summarizes what took place.
Yeah.
And to your point, even for those who prefer the short and snappy, hey, YouTube, that's where I'll put all my shorts.
Yeah.
Just those short clips, just to pique enough curiosity to either point someone to the long form content or to the replay. But ultimately, the goal in all three channels and all three verticals is to get that acquired trust so that someone can reach out and say, hey, love to talk, and love to hear more, love to see how we can work together. But continuing that SEO conversation, you're absolutely correct. SEO still around. It's slowly diminishing. It's not going to go away anytime soon. But with AEO moving in,
Yeah.
that's what I tell the people that I'm working with. If I were to do a browser-based search or an AI-based search, what is Owen best known for? What am I going to come up with? Right?
It's actually something I should probably do more often to see when you search your name. But I think my LinkedIn profile, or maybe my website, my LinkedIn profile will probably rank higher, I think, if you just like search my name or something. But probably just test that right now. But that's the engineer in me, is just like, okay, how can we just test this? But no, it's really interesting, and I think I suppose I'm mainly working with founders who are at an early enough stage. But I actually think, like, even, if I was hiring somebody right now, and I've hired many people over my career, and like they send me a CV, probably just going to try and look them up on LinkedIn. Like obviously you can put a lot of stuff on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, somebody that I follow who's pretty good is like kind of nearly like, they're questioning the validity of LinkedIn a little bit in terms of like some of the stuff that people put up, but that's a different debate maybe. But yeah, I think it's like, is this now the new CV? Like I've seen companies hiring, and they want you to send in a 30-second kind of like video interview, effectively, like where you just talk through a couple of things. So like, I think as well, historically, like, we've all grown up with TV, no matter what age you are, and now YouTube is the new TV, or like even Spotify now does videos. Like, so like podcasts are like the new TV channels, and except with TV, historically, you needed to be, NBC or whoever to like broadcast your show, whereas now anyone with a smartphone, which is pretty much everyone, can like put some content up there and tell their story if they want to do that.
Hey, there's even a market for streaming TV for small enterprises, solopreneurs. One of my school community members hosts a community of her own that helps people get on Roku television. You can now be a small channel. There's a space. There's a space for you in that domain. It's
sorry, like it sounds crazy, but I'm also like, oh, that's really clever.
So I'm looking forward to the collaboration that's going to come out of that relationship more than anything else, because I have great anticipation that those who I'm working with at some point will be ready to scale and want a wider audience that perhaps LinkedIn and YouTube might not be able to fill. And streaming TV is a perfect, viable solution, an affordable solution nonetheless. Now, it's incredible. Now, let me ask you a question or preference. We met through a live that you hosted. You're talking about video. What's your preference? Do you prefer recording, or do you prefer to just shoot from the hip and go live unscripted?
So that's a really good question. I think I'm probably like nearly too early in terms of like having a really strong preference. So the videos that I've done that people have commented on or just like given me feedback on, like anecdotally, are like I'm out for a walk and I just like stick up the phone and I do like a 30-second, 1 minute video, which is like, I won't say it's not completely unscripted, because I have some sort of thought, or I want to share some opinion or insight about something. Like I was reading a book that a friend recommended. I've only started reading it like a couple of weeks ago, or started kind of in midway through it. But like I bought the book 6 months ago. So like the video was about like, probably should have started reading it 6 months ago. From a person with a successful business who recommended this book, and I was like, yeah, great, bought the book, left it on the shelf. So like, you know, I had a bit of like a thought process, but I didn't have a script. And I actually find, and like I've done some public speaking and things like that, like back along, and I actually find, if you, in my opinion, if you have a script and you end up like reading the script off the page, I didn't read that word, like it actually sounds robotic, and also that's not how people speak. And while listening to and all these crutch words may not be the nicest audio experience for everyone watching back a video, you can kind of coach yourself as well if you do a 30-second snippet and then you watch back and go, oh, that's really bad, like just and whatever, right? So there is a little bit of maybe practice for people. But I can kind of do those videos in like one take or 1.5 takes on average, and then that's it, done. And then I basically upload it with subtitles, because that's really important. Please add subtitles to your videos, folks. Top tip. I know there's probably no subtitles on this live, but
there will be on the replay.
It'll be on the replay, exactly. Yeah. So I think probably there's a little bit of a distinction. So obviously this is going out live on the internet to anyone that wants to watch it. So you're getting raw. This is what's happening. Whereas obviously a 30-second snippet, you can filter, you can pick something out and go, okay, that's not really good enough. So probably slightly biased towards shorts that add value. Yeah, that's probably my bias, but I'm only starting the LinkedIn Live. So, maybe ask me down the track and we'll see what happens. But I suppose this just feels though, like right now, like we're just having a video call, right? This doesn't feel
and like, that's the intention, right? Yeah, you want it to be conversational, and you nailed it. I purposely, when asked, hey, can you send me questions or an agenda on what you want to talk about? And I purposely say, I'm not going to send you anything, because I don't want it to sound mechanical. I want it to be conversational. I'm not going to ask you anything that would compromise your integrity, unless, of course, what you're putting out on the social domain is a lie. I will do my research and run a query. You know, what is America best known for? And I will take your social footprint and build a conversation around your area of expertise. So I just want us to have a conversation, because the minute you send out questions, to your point, people will start reading it, and it sounds mechanical. But more important than that, people start getting inside their own heads. They start to overthink, and same thing happens with video. I asked you the question, and I'll answer my question. My preference is go live, and clip. And edit and find clips from your live conversation. For whatever reason, and I know I'm not the only one, when you record, you become very judgmental. I don't like that. Let me do that again, right? Let me. And all of a sudden you're 20 takes in. It's like, okay, I'm going to go grab a bite to eat. I'm going to come back to this, and we're going to do it all over again.
It's right? Like that's the clipboard for Hollywood or whatever it's called. But sorry, a good example of this actually. So last week I did a test LinkedIn Live, just myself. I think I talked for 20 minutes, and I was just kind of going on and on a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to do it to sort of like validate that like everything was connected and that it actually did publish on LinkedIn and all that stuff. And it did, so that was grand. But I was using StreamYard, and it auto-generated 4 clips for me afterwards, which I didn't expect necessarily, because I was just using the tool because this is one of the recommended tools, and that it worked fine. It was a really good experience, but it gave me those clips, and I was like, all right, they're kind of handy. And like, I didn't really do much with the clips, and publish them, and like, yeah, they're now there on LinkedIn as posts. So it was a really low friction way. Like, as in, if you said to me, "Oh, make 4 1 minute video shorts," I'd be like, "Oh, okay, right, I'll do this, and I'll do a take, and I'll do the idea, and I'll kind of walk through a bit of a thought process." And it probably would have taken me an hour, 2 hours, I don't know how long, between from recording to publishing. And I just kind of spoke for 20 minutes and suddenly had 4 clips. And I was like, they're pretty good. They're not perfect, but they're not bad. And so just to really kind of validate the points that you're stressing there, like, as in, if you said that to me 3 weeks ago, I'm like, okay, that sounds logical. But now I'm like, I've actually like had that experience myself.
Yeah, and you'll get to see it firsthand because these conversations become real time, real life lessons over in my community. Because I will now take this conversation and repurpose it and demonstrate the framework that I coach, uh, where this conversation will find its way to Substack. Substack, by the way, also its automation tool will generate clips from this conversation. Uh,
And just to kind of double click on that, right? When we spoke there recently, you said, "Oh, on Substack," and I stopped you and I was like, "What?" So maybe just for anyone watching, you can stream to Substack. So this was a bit of like an aha moment for me. So I just share that and emphasize that in the video in case it's not obvious to other people.
so you can not only stream live on Substack. Substack now has a new tool, a new feature called Substack Studio, where you can record without going live. So I guess ideal for the podcasters or those who just prefer to record and then take those assets, polish
Yeah.
them up before they upload them. But I tell you, I am growing on Substack. I absolutely love what they're doing, and
Yeah.
they're just so friendly when it comes to creatives. I haven't come across a platform that is creator friendly
Wow.
as well and as good as Substack. So kudos to
And when you
them.
say creator friendly, what exactly do you mean?
Well, as a creator, I don't have to worry about um, creating those shorts. It does everything for you.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
one stop shop. So I don't
Nice.
have to, yeah. Certainly, Streamyard and Restream will offer the clips,
Yeah.
but if you're writing a piece of content or if you're recording a piece of content, it'll do it for you. So
Okay.
it keeps you on the platform longer because the resources are readily
Yeah.
available to right at your fingertips. So it's very user friendly, and I've never been
Yeah.
big on Medium, never had a presence on Medium, so I
Okay.
can't really compare the two.
Yeah.
I started on Substack for my long form content, and
Interesting.
I
So
haven't even considered Medium.
So on that, right? So I've been a Medium. I'm actually a Medium customer. I think I signed up for a premium package earlier in the year, but I've been using Medium for a long time, and I have like about 3 different blogs on kind of different themes. One was on tech, one was kind of investing in something else, and I just really like Medium as a like, it's just visually appealing. It's really calm. It's the like font they use. Everything there is kind of nice. So sorry, I'm like probably a little bit of like a bias towards, okay, is this better than Medium for writing on, for consuming content on? But like, I'm also on Substack, although I haven't really put much effort into it yet. And the streaming thing is definitely another level up. So it's just interesting because I think Medium has kind of like flatlined a little bit in terms of its growth, and certainly I see. There's a guy I'm connected with in Ireland, and he writes blogs for quite frequently, and he was writing on Medium, and now recently his last few have been all on Substack. So I also see that as a bit of a signal of like people are like leaving Medium for Substack. So I don't know if this is a universally held experience, but it's definitely interesting to observe.
Well, it kind of goes in ebbs and flows, right?
Yeah,
Um, Medium at some point will probably recognize, all right, we've flatlined. What do we do next to
yeah,
keep growing or
yeah,
to retain our current subscription and membership? So I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. The fact that I'm not a member, I'm sure there's millions who aren't, but there are millions who are, and they swear by it and they love it, and that's the joy of this
Yeah.
social fabric that we now have as a resource. There's an
Yeah.
abundance of choice, and there's an audience no matter where we show up. It's about understanding how to be present for that audience.
Absolutely.
Listen, this has been wonderful. I know that you and I, we made a commitment to a half hour. We are at that half hour mark.
Yeah,
And
I'm okay for time. It depends on if you've got more questions for me or not.
hey, listen, like I mentioned earlier, I can go on for hours. So be
Yeah,
careful
we can
be
stick
careful
on
what
to
you
another
ask
thing.
for.
Yeah. If you want, yeah.
Now, in terms of, you said you work with founders, and uh, let's talk a little bit about that, because I too have found my niche, and that niche is the founder and startups, specifically those who are transitioning and just at the grass level roots, um, perhaps moving from a corporate role by choice, sometimes forced out of the labor
Sure.
market through layoffs and retrenching. Um, Tell us a little bit about your ideal client, so that
Yeah.
those who are listening know who you're able to work along.
Yeah, look, I suppose it's anybody who wants to build a presence and is in favor of or a believer in founder-led marketing. So I guess if you're not somebody who wants to put their name or their face or their personality behind the business and the product, then maybe we're not a good fit. But if you believe in that and you have a product to sell, I think there's probably some founders that are probably just figuring things out, right? And that's probably still me to a large extent too. But I guess it's probably going to get more. I can absolutely work with those people in that at that phase. But if you're somebody who maybe, let's say you're working with B2B B2B product that you might have a handful of customers, you're not really sure your ICP, but you kind of have a feel for like, I think we're going in this direction, or maybe the numbers are telling you so, and you are selling to prospects that are probably on LinkedIn, or like 80% of that profile is on LinkedIn. I can definitely help that person with their content, with helping them get that authentic voice out there and doing it in a way that's like, it's not trying to create, like, there's a lot of agencies out there that charge people significant sum of money. A lot of them do a really good job, to be fair. But they often kind of build that dependency. Like, my thing is, like, I want the founder to be able to do everything themselves should they wish to do so, or they might have in the future a growth person or a marketing person potentially, but like, you're not going to have that day one. So I want to work with that person I would recommend 3 to 5 posts a week, but for a lot of people, maybe if they're starting from cold start, 1 post a week might be, get into a consistent habit, and then build on that. And then, like, the approach that I take is very data led. So I'm a data guy, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a logic guy. So, like, if you do a post and you can see the number of impressions, you can see the engagement, it's like, oh, you have 5,000 followers and your post did 10,000 impressions, great. But also that post was liked by 50 people and 40 of them are your friends. Okay, that's great. Nice little bit of like clap them on the back, but like, it's really then about your ICP attention. And like, are your if you're selling to, let's just say, director of operations in a mid-sized corporation, how many of them are interacting with your content, or like, have they looked at your profile? And then they're actually the real signals of like, is it actually getting, and sorry, the best signal is obviously when a potential prospect reaches out to you. So that's the dream outcome, right? So that's
Yeah.
when you want, you're selling apples and people say, I'd like to buy some apples, right? That's the dream, right? But like, it's building all of the foundations to lead to that. And that's not to say that there isn't a place for your email outbound and your potentially cold calling and DMs. Like, all those things have a place, but I just believe so much in the power of content and perennial content. So like, what I often see in the LinkedIn algorithm is content that was written 3 or 4 weeks ago is only surfacing in people's feeds today. And if you write for like something that's kind of like a little bit clickbaity or a little bit topical, like, that's fine, and that might get you some impressions. and there's a place for that. But if you can actually write kind of, so Ryan Holiday, I don't know if you follow him, he's got this principle of perennial selling, and he's written a book about it, I believe. And, you know, something that will still be useful in 3 months, 6 months, a year's time. And if you can try and get content like that, and obviously there's, you know, it's not a simple thing to do, but like leaning in that direction, I think that's where you can really build authority.
Hey, and with perennial content, you're also saving time, effort, and energy, because if it's still relevant 6 months down the road, you can repurpose it.
Yeah, 100%.
You can resurface it. You can, right? There's just so much you can do. And you're absolutely right. If we talk about what's trending today and no one cares about it tomorrow, then you're just chasing the noise.
It's kind of like the ticker on the you know, on Wall Street versus the, like, you know, what's the best way to buy a stock, if that's, you know,
Yeah.
if that's the area that you're thinking about. So
buy low, sell high.
Yeah, buy low, sell high. Yeah, it's a good approach. So I guess that's kind of like my kind of thoughts on content. And obviously then, look, there's tactical things that you might do that are going to boost your impressions in the short term. But, like, you know, even something like, which is not as well understood, is like just commenting on other people's posts. Which is kind of an obvious enough one when you think about it. But, like, I've had a bunch of comments that I've left on other people's posts that have had more impressions than posts that I've done myself. Now, some of those posts were not, you know, the biggest of posts, but there's a lot of little small things like that that compound over time as well.
Yeah, and you said something once again that just keeps pinging on how well aligned we are. I too, I'm a numbers guy. I'm an analytical guy, and I pay close attention to what the data tells me. Logic is ingrained in me, so much so that I built it into my business name. It's Journey Logic, and we're providing a customer journey through, you know, live streaming, but we want it to be logical.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely loved that we're in 2 different continents, and yet we feel so close and aligned. That is just wonderful. Let's address the elephant in the room, and then we'll wrap things up. We started and we had a good chuckle. AI. What are your thoughts on AI? What's right? How much is it? How right is it to use it? Where to use it? When to use it? And when to avoid it at all costs?
Wow. How long have we got? Okay, so I suppose I'd say a few things, right? So firstly, I'm a techno optimist, right? So I believe in the positive impact of technology on the world, on the economy, on the society. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't negative things. But if we think about, like, you know, I think about AI as, like, you know, a platform change or just a new capability. It's a new tool in the toolbox. So I think it's early, right? I know this is a bit of a maybe commonly held view, but, like, I just think we're still just scratching the surface on what we can do. I don't buy into this the doomer theory of, like, oh, all this bad stuff. Like this thing about AGI. So AGI is this, like, you know, idea that, you know, you're going to build the Terminator and it's going to kill us all and bad things are going to happen. And so far, I've seen absolutely zero evidence of AGI. I've seen plenty of evidence of models trained on biased data, which then is used for a particular purpose. And surprise, surprise, it was trained by a set of data and it kind of tilts in that direction. So that's maybe a comment on that. Then on I suppose the thing that I keep hearing on, so I'm living in Ireland, and there's broadcast media, there's newspapers, and one of the kind of, like, things that keeps getting talked about is, you know, Meta has laid off X number of people, or there's going to be a threat to such and such a company, and the line that's used is because of AI. Now, I think every large corporation in the world is looking at things and going, "Oh, can we save a buck?" Right? But I think they're using AI as an excuse. Now, there is opportunities there as well to kind of, like, make cost savings.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same way, when the pandemic ended and many companies that had offices that went fully remote, went back to the office, and certain people had moved to different parts of the country or potentially the world. And then suddenly they're like, everyone needs to be back in the office 5 days a week. And then, oh, if you're not able to make this, we might have to make you redundant because we need everyone in the office. So they just use that as a sort of like a way of sacking people effectively. So I think AI has kind of been used in the same way. But my simple example is, so I'm 38. When I was 18 and I was in secondary school or high school, and if I said to like the careers person and said, I'm going to be a social media manager when I grow up, they would be like, what are you on about? Like, what's a social media manager? Oh, and I'm going to get paid a 6-figure salary to be a social media manager for a leading brand. Like, what are you on about? Like, that doesn't make sense. But actually, over the last 15 to 20 years, being a social media manager or expert or whatever you're having yourself is a very lucrative role. That role didn't exist in 2005. So there are roles today that will no longer exist, but there will be new roles created that we don't really even fully understand yet. I suppose from a kind of a tech startup product perspective, people would talk about the trifecta of product, design, and engineering. And like, do those roles change? Are they now the same thing? Or what does that mean? And I think the question is, we don't really know yet. We're still figuring it out. We're probably still even figuring out what questions we should ask as distinct from what answers will we get. So I think I am very optimistic about AI. There are things that I'm able to do now that take minutes, if not seconds, that I either wasn't able to do at all 2, 3, 4 years ago, or would have taken a lot of time. So a simple example is, we talked about blogs and writing. So I've written blogs for many years and, would put thought process into what I'm talking about, would have probably cobbled together some notes and then just like left them there and then come back to them. And then I'll do, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do an edit, I'm going to get this to a final draft. And I'll probably leave it alone. And then I'll probably come back again and I'll go, okay, now I'll give it the final copy edit and I'll hit publish. So like, I was doing that just as a hobby. I don't know how long it took me to write a blog post, but let's just say it took me 5 hours. Like right now, I have set up my Claude with my tone of voice, which I have reverse engineered from previous blog posts that I've written. And I can give it an idea. I can give it some notes. I can give it even like a well-formed draft that I've handwritten, or now with Whisper Flow that I have dictated, which is also kind of cool. And it will get me to like a pretty good final version. Now, some may argue that's AI slop or that's AI generated content or whatever, and that's fine. I don't really care. But it's still my thoughts and my words in my style. But like, I can just do that so much faster. So like, the best analogy I can think of, and there's many other examples like this, is before typewriters, you needed to write everything out by hand. And after typewriters, we got computers primarily in offices, and the person that worked on the typewriter then started working on the computer, and then email came along, and then there's all these layers. So I think that's probably like my thought process. It's not so much even about AI, it's just about technology and change. And like, I'm not saying there isn't downsides to AI, and I'm not trying to like ignore the fact that there's people who probably, maybe even some that are watching this, who feel threatened by AI or feel that like, oh, their job is going to get taken away. And maybe the change is going to happen faster. But also, in my experience in larger organizations, maybe this is a European bias, like a lot of companies go quite slow and it can take a long time. And if you're somebody who's curious, if you're somebody who's knowledgeable, if you're somebody who's got like, whether it's 2 months of experience or 20 years of experience, you probably know something better than a lot of other people that like no AI is ever going to like take away from you. And actually, it's going to free up some of your time to spend more time doing that thing. And also, anybody who's like deep in like Claude Code or any of those tools, like they're just using them so much more intensely than ever before, right? So like, software engineers that love building things are building more things. And I would say there's going to be like so much more software created, like an order of magnitude more software created in the next 5 to 10 years than ever before, which is going to also create new opportunities and things too. So anyway, look, there's my
Uh,
my slightly stump speech answer to your
no,
question.
that is awesome. I got more than I bargained for.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was a fabulous explanation. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people who are quick to point and judge that AI has taken away. Now, this whole AGI mindset, I agree. I don't think we're nowhere close, if at all.
Yeah,
That
like
the
one of the
robot
bits.
revolution is going to be our demise. But there are those who are looking and talking about, look at the data centers and look at the environmental impact that this is causing, and nobody wants it in their backyard.
Yeah,
But but those are conversations that I'm not going to dive into because I'm not an expert,
yeah,
and I really don't have an appetite or an appreciation for the impact. It's still early, like you mentioned. It's early stages. I do see the benefits. What I have learned by leveraging and using AI, you talked about how your blog post once took you 5 hours and now can be done in short order and put out and published in a public domain in maybe under an hour.
yeah,
The important thing to that I learned, and I share with anyone that asks, is understand that the large language models, when you are asking for help to write that blog or to write that article, those large language models are going to take data samples that they've collected from millions of data sources. So I specifically, as my AI agent is starting has learned my tone, my voice, I will always, well, not always. I've now gotten into the habit of asking, take this transcript. It's a real conversation that took place, right? So
yeah.
it's not fictitious information. Let's summarize it, but only use the context of this
Yes,
conversation to,
yes.
and it keeps it from sourcing
Stripping.
other data points that are outside of what actually took place. And I think that that's important. You're using AI as a tool, and because I've caught myself once, like, hey, hold on a second.
Yeah,
I didn't say this. We
yeah,
didn't make reference to X, Y, and Z. Why is this
yes.
in this draft? So first thing I thought is it's probably sourcing it from its
Forever.
from wherever, right?
Yeah,
So it's important that your prompt and your AI agent and your AI tool understands what you're specifically looking for in order for it to be your words, your message, and
exactly.
you authentically.
That's actually a really that's a really deep point actually, and that's actually something to I think there's a takeaway there for a lot of people of like, use your own, like near your own transcript as your own
Yeah,
training data to make your content more authentic. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think the only other little anecdote I'd add to the AI conversation is energy. So that's probably a whole other debate, but
yeah.
we won't get into that today. But it's I think there's all sorts of questions that we'll be asking ourselves over the coming years around energy.
All right. Well, we answered that elephant in the room. Perhaps we didn't address it entirely, but I loved your response and how you articulated some very useful information and your thoughts around AI. Listen, it's not going anywhere.
No,
I know that uh, the industry in itself has got to do a better job in creating better guardrails so that we make better use of it. Governments are now stepping in and regulating and asking organizations and regulators to create structure and to keep these guardrails in place. So we'll probably see a lot of positive movement in terms of protecting people from themselves, because we those who dive into that dark space and
yeah,
try to find uh, a reason to bring harm or what have you, that has become a very large conversation and topic that people are really worried about AI. But glad that the right people are at the right table having those conversations. And for me, I'm just here to help those founders be visible and help them create content that starts live but finds its way into different mediums, different verticals, so that their content, their message can be crawled, can be ranked, and found across whether it's browser-based searches or AI-based searches. Because at the end of the day, we touched on this at the beginning of the conversation. It's all about visibility and trust.
Yeah.
And my closing remarks, I want to kind of rewind a little bit and go back to the part of the conversation where we were talking about impressions and analytics. Don't forget your lurker. You know, a lot of people have different opinions of the lurker. I look at those people and those readers and those consumers of content as valuable, if not more valuable.
Yeah.
'Cause those are the ones who are doing their research. Those are the ones who are digging deep and getting in the weeds. They may not surface into your content, comments, into your impressions, but they're the ones who are going to punch in the search to really get to know you. And they're the ones who are probably going to jump in your calendar way faster and way sooner than someone who dropped a comment.
I call them, Americo, silent observers.
Yes. Yeah, there are people who take objection to the word lurker.
I think lurker might do some of those people a massive disjustice, in my opinion. But it's funny. I'll just tell you a quick story on this. So I was speaking with a guy I know I worked with a couple of years ago, and hadn't been in touch with him, just reaching out for a conversation. And I started telling him, what I'm doing when I'm building the usual. And he goes, "Oh, no, I'll cut you off right there. I've been following your posts on LinkedIn, so I know exactly what you're doing." And I was like, all right, great. So I think it was just a real reminder of, and this is somebody who had not reacted, not commented, not messaged, no sort of interaction, but he had seen what I was doing and was able to kind of give me an opinion or give me some thoughts on different things. So I think that was just a real lesson learned for me, to your point. So a silent observer is the term I'm using.
Beautiful. All right. So for all who are consuming this in whichever format, stay tuned. Give us a follow. You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Americo DaCosta. You can join, and I'd invite and welcome anyone who wants to participate in Your Stage Live. It's a community designed for founders and startups who want to get that mentorship and that help going live, building live content. But it's also a community where you're going to meet individuals who are on a similar journey, some further ahead and some further behind. And we just help and lift each other up as we collectively build our own stages and take our own stages. So I welcome anyone to the community. And Owen, how can people, other than LinkedIn, are there other spaces where people can follow you?
Yeah, probably LinkedIn is the best. I'm on X. I do a few little bits on there, and then my website is tskr.app. So they're probably the main places you'll find me.
Fantastic. Listen, it has been an absolute pleasure. It is evening, probably close to supper time for you.
Yeah.
And I'm close to lunch. It's lunchtime for me. So we'll fill our bellies and have a great rest of our day. Thank you so much for joining me. Stick around after, and we'll wrap things up.
Thanks very much.
Everyone else, have a great rest of your day.
You've been carrying wisdom like a loaded page, years of mild scars, lesson engraved. You did the work, you earned the view, but the numbers haven't followed you. You've got stories worth